voltage. Thank God. D'Arsonval galvanometer, let me repeat, is the key component behind all current meters and voltmeters. Okay. It takes only 100 microamperes to deflect it fully. So we have to use innovative techniques to measure higher currents. Ammeter is always connected in series. Ammeter is a low resistance galvanometer. Ideally, it should have no resistance, but practically speaking, you can never achieve that. So we try to have as small resistance in series as possible. Okay. Actually, that low resistance is achieved by putting a low resistance in parallel with the galvanometer. We'll come to the schematic in a minute. Okay. Now, resistance of the wire depends on a lot of factors. You know all those equations, so let's not get too much into that. Let's get to the construction of an ammeter. An ammeter essentially has the galvanometer, which has its own internal resistance, which is small r. Okay. Now, that combination cannot handle very large currents, as we have said again and again. So what we do is we put a shunt resistance across the galvanometer. It is being denoted by capital R suffix S. So when a large current comes in, most of it is bypassed through the shunt resistance. And the current entering the galvanometer remains low enough. And that's how we have to do the design. Okay. We choose RS value small enough so that most of the current goes through RS. Only a small fraction goes through the galvanometer. Maximum current tolerated by galvanometer is around 100 microamperes. So we will do a design example soon, okay, in terms of how to calculate RS for a given I. And for a given galvanometer, whose small r will be known to us. This is how an ammeter looks. You have seen this in the lab. You will be seeing it in the lab again and again. As far as you are concerned, you will see a three-dimensional body in which this circuit is hiding. And a lot of connectors, cables, etc. are also inside. All you see is two terminals between which you connect the circuit in which you want to measure the current. Okay. Voltmeter is also going to use the galvanometer, but first of all, voltmeter has to be connected in parallel with the circuit in which you are interested in measuring voltage. That's for sure. The construction of a voltmeter is shown here. What you do is, okay, it's not the construction, it is actually the position of ammeter and voltmeter that is being shown here. But the construction of the voltmeter, I'm coming to that in a minute. Voltmeter is produced by putting a high resistance in series with the galvanometer, so that the current going through the galvanometer is still limited to a safe value. Remember, in case of an ammeter, we put a very small resistance in parallel with the galvanometer. In case of a voltmeter, we put a very large resistance in series with the galvanometer. This is the diagram here. This is the voltage. You have the galvanometer with internal resistance small r, which is known to us. In series with that, we put some resistance, whatever you want to call it. They are calling it Rm, fine. you choose. By the way, this entire assembly within the rectangle is the voltmeter. From the outside world, you will only see terminals A and B. Everything inside will be hidden. We will solve a problem on how to calculate RM for a given set of specifications. But Rn has to be high enough so that the voltage, so that the current through the galvanometer is not beyond the 100 microampere limit. Basically, what happens is, since you are trying to measure high voltage edge, you drop most of the voltage across Rm and allow only a small voltage to appear across small r. That's the whole idea. But we'll come to the calculations in a minute. This is how voltmeters look like. Large variety is there in the market. Some, in fact, 2 samples are shown here. Okay. These are all DC meters, I think, but AC meters are also available. Ammeters are used to measure current, and there are several possibilities they have shown in this diagram, in these diagrams, in fact. These are almost self-explanatory. You connect the voltmeter across the 2 terminals between which you want to measure the voltage. I've said that again and again. So this slide, I think, is quite self-explanatory. Ohm meter is a third kind of meter. It measures the resistance. What we do is we apply a known voltage to the resistor, to the unknown resistor, and measure the current going through it, and then use Ohm's law. Okay. For ohm meter, there has to be an internal source in the instrument which can apply the voltage to the resistance. Lot of details are there in terms of range of resistance values that you want to measure. For high values, the design is different. For lower values, the design is different. So switches are there on the ohm meter, which allow you to select the appropriate range based on what kind of values you are trying to measure. Okay. Simple circuit. Normally, the operation demands that before doing any measurement of resistance, you short circuit the 2 leads which are coming out and adjust the 0. Because when you are short circuiting the 2 leads, you should read 0, which may not be true because of practical reasons. So you 0 the pointer by short circuiting the 2 leads first, and then do the actual measurements. This is again a calibration procedure that is necessary. Okay. There's a galvanometer here also. There's no question about that. Multimeter is a combination of all this. It can measure current, it can measure voltage, it can measure resistance. Okay. In fact, advanced models are there for multimeters which can measure other things also. Digital multimeters are also around. Some even work as an oscilloscope. Today's technology is quite advanced. Here is a schematic, electrical schematic. You don't have to remember it. It just that it helps in understanding the kind of components that are inside the multimeter. Range selector is there essentially. Depending on the range you want, a different register is selected. Okay, now let me show you a second PPT, and then we'll solve some problems. This one also has more or less the same info, but from a different standpoint. Measuring instruments are classified either as analog and digital meters They are also classified as deflection type or null type, NULL. Deflection type is the one we are currently discussing, where the pointer actually deflects. Null type is the one where we'll discuss that later, but where the idea is that instead of moving the pointer to a certain to a certain angle value, we try to zero the pointer. Basically, if you remember Wheatstone bridge, that is the kind of technique which is called nulling technique, where we try to make some current zero to get the measurement done. When we talk about Wheatstone bridge, we'll discuss that more in detail. So two different ways of classifying electric measuring instruments are analog versus digital and deflection type versus null type. That's for sure. Okay, this is a 3D picture. That's what I wanted to show you. It was not in my PPT. This is the D'Arsonval galvanometer shown in a 3D sense. North pole and south pole of the magnet are shown, between which a magnetic field is created. We put the coil there. We allow a torsion spring to be attached and a pointer to be attached through a shaft which goes through the coil. The amount of current that is flowing in the coil generates a torque which rotates the coil. The torsion spring applies the opposite torque. The pointer settles to a steady state value which depends on the current flowing through the coil. So we calibrate the pointer position against the current going in the coil. Okay. That's the whole purpose. Okay, same thing. Yeah, if you want to measure AC voltage, you use a rectifier. Here they have shown a bridge rectifier. Maybe you don't know much about it, but just remember that 4 diodes are used in case of a bridge rectifier to convert AC into DC. AC is never measured directly. We always convert it into DC. This is all built into the instrument. You don't have to do it externally. Only thing is you select AC mode rather than DC mode. Then the circuit switches to something else first and convert the signal into DC and then does the measurement. The voltmeter is designed to be connected directly across the source of power. We have said that again and again. Okay. The ammeter is connected in series. We have gone through this. The construction of the ammeter is that you have galvanometer and across that you are connecting a small resistance. There are many other kinds of constructions possible. Sometimes it is not possible to plug in wires. So we use clamp-on type of construction, which is easy to put on and easy to remove. This especially is applicable for large current measurements. Okay. Digital ohm meters, digital ammeters, digital voltmeters are all available. Instead of measuring the position using your eye, you actually get the numerical value on the display. Okay. A lot of circuit processing is inside, but ultimately you see a display where numerical value is seen. You don't have to use your eye and for measurement. You simply read the number. That's it. I think most of it is self-explanatory. All kinds of things are there. Low impedance voltage tester is a special device used for power systems. We'll go through it later when we come to power systems. Reading a digital meter is pretty simple. Everything is automatic, basically. You plug in the meter and it automatically reads the voltage value. Even the range is selected nowadays automatically, which is a relief. You don't have to worry about any controls. Now let me do some numerical examples on how to do designs. Okay, 1 minute. These are the kind of questions you can expect in the exam and quizzes, etc. Read this problem carefully. Note it down if you have to. A moving coil galvanometer, which means D'Arson wall galvanometer, has internal resistance of 100 ohm and the shunt resistance is 0.1 ohm. The maximum current that is allowed in the galvanometer for full deflection is 100 microamperes. So how much maximum current can this ammeter measure? As I said, we put a very small resistance of 0.1 ohm in parallel with the galvanometer. And the combination will be able to measure current much higher than 100 microamperes. Let's see how we do calculations. This is the schematic. The galvanometer is shown with a circle with a pointer inside. The galvanometer's own resistance is denoted by capital R with a suffix capital G. These are my notations. You can always use other notations. Now, within the dotted line, you see the entire ammeter. It has the galvanometer and a shunt resistance, which is 0.1 ohm as given to us. Okay. Now, how much is the what is the value of maximum current that we can measure in this ammeter? I capital G is the current through the galvanometer, and the maximum value given for Ig is 100 microamperes. Capital I is the current actually being measured. Our job is to figure out the maximum possible value of I that can be measured. Now, you see that RSH is connected in parallel with the combination of galvanometer and its internal resistance. The current going through the galvanometer is I capital G. That current will produce a voltage RGIG across the RG resistance. In parallel, we have a resistance which is RSH, and the current going in that path is ISH. So ISH multiplied by RSH will be the voltage across RSH. Now, using Kirchhoff voltage law across this loop, it is easy to see. Let's look at the maximum possible current scenario. So maximum possible Ig is 100 microampere. That multiplied by Rg should be equal to maximum possible of ISH multiplied by RSH. This is the basic formula you should always keep in mind to do the calculations in this case. This is Kirchhoff voltage law being applied around the loop containing Rg, RSH, and the galvanometer. Ig max multiplied by Rg equal to ISH max multiplied by RSH. Now you plug in the values. Ig max is given as 100 microampere. Rg is given as 100 ohm, and ISH max is the unknown. Okay. So we do the calculations here by plugging in the values. I'm just double checking my numbers. RSH is 0.1 ohm. So what I'm doing is Ig max multiplied by Rg divided by RSH. Okay. To get ISH max. 100 microampere multiplied by 100 ohm divided by 0.1. Oh, yes, that's correct. So maximum ISH value that we will see is 100 milliampere. Now, at the entrance of current, the value of capital I will be obviously Ig plus ISH, that is because of Kirchhoff's current law. So in the maximum current case, I max will be Ig max plus ISH max. That's what I'm doing here. Ig max is 100 microampere, ISH max is 100 milliampere. Add the two, you will get the total maximum current that the ammeter would be able to measure. So ammeter is basically measuring almost 100 milliampere maximum. If you want to increase that number, you will have to play with RSH value. RSH is the design parameter here, essentially speaking. The value of RSH for a given galvanometer controls the maximum amount of current that this ammeter can measure. Problem is, RSH is quite low. It is not easy to buy this in market. That's the reality, you know. Theory is one thing, but how to implement the idea, that's another story. 0.1 ohm is very difficult to find and it is very expensive. Normally, to get such a small resistance implemented, we put several resistors in parallel. You know that resistances connected in series always give you overall value higher than the individual value. If similarly in parallel, the overall resistance goes down, we have the well-known formulas for all that, right? So 0.1 ohm or even lower than that, in case you want much higher I, the implementation of that will invariably be done by having several resistors in parallel. I'm not going to go through all the details, but the key point to remember is that 0.1 ohm cannot generally be implemented by using a single resistance, that's for sure. That's why if you open an ammeter, you will see several resistors connected in parallel because they are trying to implement a very small value of RSH. Okay. Market doesn't supply you any resistance value that you need. There are discrete values available. So you will have to select a value close to what you need. That's also there. Tolerances are there. You have seen all this in basic electronics lab. Tolerances have to be accounted for. The theory is simple for designing an ammeter, but practical designs need lot of analysis, keeping in mind the availability of resistors, the tolerances, the effect of temperature, etc., etc. Second problem in this document is about voltmeter design. Again, it is the same galvanometer, but this time around, the resistance of the galvanometer is only 10 ohm. It's not 100 ohm like in the previous case. And the maximum deflection current is, of course, 100 microampere in this case. Now, our job is to design a voltmeter capable of measuring 20 volt maximum. Let me show you the steps. Voltmeter essentially is what is shown in the dotted rectangle. The galvanometer is connected in series with a large resistance. And the voltage across the two AND nodes is the voltage that we are trying to measure. Now we have been given the maximum value of that voltage as 20 volts. So equation in this case is quite simple. It is simply Ohm's law. V max divided by RSC, which is the unknown, which is the design parameter. RSC plus RG should be IG max. By the way, IG is same as current flowing through the register RSC also. It's a series branch, right? So you take IG max and equate it to V max divided by RSC plus RG. And from there, you calculate RSC. First of all, you calculate RSC plus RG, which is around 200 kilo ohm, which is actually 200 kilo ohm. And from there, you subtract RG, which is a very small value anyway. So in this case, the voltmeter needs a series resistance of 199.99 kilo. This is the design. Again, to get such a large resistance will not be easy. You may have to use several individual resistors in series to get to this value. That practical consideration remains in this case also. So please go through these to solve problems once you get the document. A simple design algorithm for ammeter and voltmeter using the galvanometer. Now, I'll show you one more document. Several of them here. Let me try this. How to use a multimeter. Multimeter can measure voltage, current, and resistance. You will be using it rather than designing it most of the time. So this is something that may be worth looking at. Various things on the screen. Those of you who have used multimeter probably remember all this. Selection switch is there, which will allow you to select whether you want to measure voltage or current, whether you are in AC mode or DC mode, or whether you want to measure resistance. All kind of selections are possible on the front. It's an analog meter, by the way. So you'll have to read the value using your eye. There is no digital display in this case. You can, like, selection switch in this particular case is DC 25 milliampere. That means the maximum current you can measure is 25 milliampere with that position of the switch. Okay, you can go for other switch positions also. Now in this case, the switch is set to 25 milliampere. You can see that the pointer, if you try to read the display carefully, the pointer is reading, sorry about this. I've lost it. The pointer is reading, well, you can see it later, but pointer is, I think, is approximately reading 17.5 milliampere. Okay. Now, ammeter can be used as an ohm meter also. Again, the switch has to be in the proper position, and then you simply read the value. Of course, you have to calibrate. First, short circuit the two knobs and make sure you are reading 0. If not, there is a 0 set button. AC voltage measurement is also possible. I told you the theory. If you select AC mode, there will be a rectifier inside which will come into the picture, which will convert the signal into DC before the measurement. Digital multimeters, of course, give you value in the display itself. You don't have to worry about reading the pointer position. And if by chance the range you have selected is not sufficiently large for the quantity to be measured, you may get an error message. Then you have to select the range properly. In many multimeters nowadays, range is selected automatically. So things are changing with time. DC and AC mode is selected separately. There's a switch that allows you to do that. Okay. Let's see. Last one, and I'll stop. This also has a lot of info about digital multimeters. Multimeter combines the function of measuring current, voltage, and resistance, and maybe some additional things also. Continuity means zero between 2 points, as expected. If a wire is not broken, then across the wire you should see almost zero resistance. That's what continuity means. Again, there's a lot of description in terms of operating symbols, operating switches, etc. Range selector is the main thing. AC and DC mode is another thing. And the kind of measurement, whether you want to measure resistance or voltage or current, that's another thing. In fact, in this case, I think even capacitance measurement is possible, diode test is possible. A lot of extra things are also there in this particular case. When you are not using multimeter, turn it off because you are wasting battery. Simple advice, but worth. Okay. This is a very simple description of what is happening inside when you are measuring something. But anyway, forget. This is a simple example of Ohm's law. Multimeter as a voltmeter, it is connected in parallel between the 2 points. I have said that again and again. So let's move forward. Every multimeter that you get to see will have slightly different set of controls. So you'll have to use intuition or maybe use the operating manual if you're not sure about something. Okay. If you're not sure about the scale to select, always go for the highest because you don't know the value of the unknown voltage or unknown current. So go to the highest range first. If you see very small value, that means your range is too large. Then select the next lower range. Then you will see deflection little higher. In case of digital meters, you will see the number making more sense. Okay. Fine. Here you are measuring voltage across a battery using a multimeter. It is 8.754 volts. Lot of details, most of them almost self-explanatory. For ammeter, of course, you have to connect the multimeter in series with the circuit. Read the steps carefully. They are there to help you in not making mistakes. Sometimes you may burn the multimeter if you are not using it correctly. So basically, when you are trying to connect the multimeter, switch off the power to the main circuit that in which you are trying to put the multimeter. Okay, break the circuit between the 2 points in which across which you want to measure the current. So then you connect the multimeter. Then go for the highest setting. Then multimeter power on. Then make the measurements. Turn the power on for the main circuit also. All this is a very good series of steps to do the measurement in the correct manner. Okay. It's a big document, but most of it is very simple to understand. If you are using multimeter as an ohm meter, basically when you select the mode as resistance measurement, this all happens automatically anyway. So don't worry too much about it. The only thing you have to worry about is the range setting. If you make it, you start with the largest possible range. If the value turns out to be almost negligible, then you go to the next lower range and so on until you get a sensible value of the resistance. Okay. Yeah, he is repeating himself a lot. Okay, we are almost done. This is the last slide. Read it carefully. Be careful not to touch the bare probe tips together while measuring voltage, because then you may cause a fire. When you are measuring voltage between 2 points, you have two wires coming out of the multimeter that you will connect to those 2 points. Don't short circuit those, because then high current may flow. It may create fire, it may damage multimeter, and even more undesirable things can happen. As mechanical engineers, you will be using all these equipment all the time in real life. Resistance should always be measured by making sure nothing else is connected to it. Ideally, a resistance should be measured by taking it in isolation with the rest of the circuitry. It may not be possible all the time. This is my real life experience, but we try at least. When you are not using, obviously you turn off the machine. Okay, we are done with this.